actually do think that AI will help automate repetitive work, but when it comes to the creativity of it all, AI is somewhat replacing humans in that way. I mean, if we look back at the Coca-Cola AI commercial that launched in December for the holidays, that was
It was
actually
created by
lost the
AI.
human touch, and it actually received a lot of backlash.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Brand Behavior. I'm your host, Juntae DeLane, and today we're tackling a hot topic, AI in marketing, hype versus reality. AI is everywhere right now. Some say it's a game changer. Others think it's just another overhyped trend. So what's the truth? We're going to cut through the noise and break down what actually works and share some real world insights to help you figure out which AI tools are worth your time and budget. And of course, we have some amazing panelists joining us today for some of the brightest minds in marketing and AI. So let's just take a deep dive and meet our guest. So today I'm excited to introduce Chanel Jackson. She's the CEO and founder of Omnipresence Agency. She's worked with brands like Starz, Hulu, and Universal Pictures and knows a thing or two about global brand marketing. Hey, Chanel, how are you?
Hey, thanks, Juntae. I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. All right, next we have Ebony Adams. She is a digital marketing expert and AI prompt engineer who's transitioned from a military IT background to leading an AI-driven marketing campaigns with Yanobi Brand Marketing. Ebony, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. We also have Arx Nalaban. How no, Arx Nabandanya.
Nalbandian.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Very memorable name. Love it. And Arx is a digital marketing director with over 12 years of experience in helping startups grow through strategic storytelling and smart AI integration. Arx, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having us today.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And last but definitely not least, Pam Ditter. She is a B2B consultant and author specializing in aligning sales and marketing strategies to drive business growth. Pam, how you
Thank
doing?
you. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course, of course. All right, so let's dive right in. I want to start with a quick story. I was reading about this company that poured tons of money into AI and that promised ultimately to revolutionize its marketing. But guess what? It turned out to be more hype than help. And that got me thinking, how do we actually know which tools deliver and which ones are just flashy distractions? So that's what we're diving in today. So let's start with some real talk about the state of AI in marketing. Now, we know AI is popping up everywhere, from chatbots that don't always know how to chat to tools that claim they can automate the entire marketing strategy. But what's actually working? So let's see what our experts on this panel have to say. I'm going to start with you, Chanel. Chanel, how do you evaluate which AI tools are worth incorporating in your global brand strategy?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would definitely say open AI and generative AI tools definitely help start a brand marketing campaign. It helps in a lot of different ways, from the brainstorming of it all, strategy, or at least starting a strategy, sometimes starting a creative strategy. It's a helpful tool, I would say, to begin with. To your point that ChatGPT sometimes is not human or doesn't really spit out the right information, there needs to be a human connection to that. So that's why I say just starting grounds. But when it comes to a 360 marketing campaign, AI can be leveraged in a lot of different ways. For example, email marketing, definitely wanting to use AI to analyze, customer behavior and segment audiences. From a social perspective, it can help automate scheduling, also help be a listening tool for different sentiments, leveraging a chatbot to help with some of the messaging, the positioning, even with content creation in general. And same with direct mail as an example, just using AI-driven consumer insights, predicting the best timing and things of that nature. AI has been around for a long period of time. I think it's just been
Yeah.
commercialized very recently, which is why it's kind of like a fire to incorporate AI within any kind of marketing campaign. But when it
Yeah.
comes to the generative AI tools, I particularly am a fan of ChatGPT. I know that there's a lot of conversation around that, ethical standards, DeepSeek, and other tools. But from a marketing perspective, that's one that I actually go to and use to begin the marketing process of
Yeah.
strategy.
And Alex, for startups and smaller brands, what AI applications do you think are truly making a difference?
Yeah, I think that first of all, just to go back to what you said, there are a lot of like tools that claim to do automation and work as an AI, but they don't. They just don't, and they're just claiming to do that. So it's very important to know what to use, and especially for startups, AI is very important because they can't afford to hire a full agencies, big agencies that have all the resources, or hire a big team that will do everything. Usually, especially like at the seed level startup, it's the founder and someone that helps them to do that, or max one more person. So it helps, is crucial here because it helps create from advertising campaigns to email marketing to website copy and everything. And so it helps with the small resources to build a marketing strategy that can get the startup to the next level.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. And I know Pam knows all about B2B marketing, and I know that she's worked heavily with AI. And so from that perspective, from the B2B perspective, what are some of the AI trends that you're seeing, Pam, within the B2B space?
Well, there are a couple things. First one is obviously every single companies, I'm talking about on the client side, they are all evaluating various different options in terms of how artificial intelligence can incorporate into their campaigns or their plannings, or even how to increase the collaborations between sales and marketing. So there are many fronts that people are looking at internally, especially on the client side, in terms of what they should incorporate. And at this point, everybody is still evaluating and they are trying different things. I talked to many enterprises and also smaller companies. I don't think anybody is really ahead because this whole process, we are literally just witness the journey, right? The journey is going and we are running with it at the same time. So, it's very hard to see like who is ahead, who is behind. Everybody is working on it because everybody is working on it at the same time within the marketing organization. There are many people. So the content marketers will be like, you know what? I'm going to use AI to generate my content. The email marketing people, just like Chanel indicated, they are using AI to look into data analytics. And the marketing operation, they might be looking at, oh yeah, we actually have CRM tool. We also have a marketing automation tools. There's a lot of AI features that has been incorporated into these tools. How can I educate the people who are using those tools to actually use those tools a little bit more proactively? To answer your question, everybody is moving, but they are all moving at a different pace. The key things from my perspective, when I always tell my clients is, don't look at what the AI tools are popping out every day, but really focus on your workflows. Like Chanel was talking about omni-channels. Great. If you actually have a certain kind of marketing campaigns that you are doing, either email marketing or the pay ads, look at your workflows and evaluate them, and then sit back and look at the steps that you do and see where AI can actually help.
Yeah.
So that will eliminate, the red flags that you are talking about. Is
Yeah.
looking internally, look at your workflow, and then see where AI can provide some value, and then you can test it if that works.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And, for some of the clients that we work with, uh, the friction with regard to adoption is always present. And I think that
Totally.
just as marketers overall, right? We may have clients that we work with that say, "Oh, I tried Facebook ads back in the day and it didn't work." And it's like, "Well, did you have the right budget? Did you have the right strategy? So on and so forth." And so I'm starting to
Same
see the same
analogy. Same
exactly
analogy.
same analogy, right? So I'm starting to see the same thing with AI, and I'm realizing like, okay, you have to actually learn what to tell the AI so that you can get the right
Yeah.
output, right? And so I align that to, if you had a intern fresh out of college that's, is intelligent but not experienced, right? Like what would you actually say to that intern to produce the right out, right? And so, Ebony, I know you know a lot about this with your experience in prompt engineering, right? Because that's really what it's all about. Like, how can you create the right prompts that delivers the right outcomes? So tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So I learned the hard way. You definitely have to talk to any LLM to train it. You can't assume that it already knows how to do what you want it to do. So, like, for example, when I do copywriting, I've learned that you have to tell it, act like an expert copywriter or act like a digital marketer, and then lead it into what you want it to do, and then tell it how you want it to deliver that information, whether it's bullet points, short paragraphs, list form. If you want it to include references, you have to tell it all these things because, like you said, it's basically like a baby. And you're training it step by step what to do so it can produce what you want it to do consistently.
Yeah. I think when you consider AI as, let's say, like a fancy ingredient in a gourmet meal, right? You have to obviously use it correctly, right? And if you don't, the whole dish will be ruined,
Yeah.
right? And I think there's many brands that struggle with AI integration because they expect it to do everything, right? So how do you actually make AI work for you?
You
Probably, yeah, sorry.
go
Just
ahead.
to answer you and to add what Ebony said, in my case, because I work with various startups, I do have like separate GPTs. I create my custom GPTs that I train each GPT for each product. So I give them like documentation about the product. I give them the product messaging doc, and I create a custom GPT for each product that then I can give a prompt to give me, for example, like a newsletter content, an ad copy. And in that case, the AI works for you way better. So because it has learned everything that it needs.
Okay.
Got it.
So, Junte, can I add
Yeah,
additional point on top of it?
sure.
And I agree with Aras in terms of at the individual level when you are using AI specifically. Like, for example, Neil talking about using ChatGPT extensively, and you can build a custom chatbot for specific tasks that's continuously repetitive. And so I love RS brought a very good point that you can build a custom bot to actually help you to automate specific tasks. So that's at the individual level. There's another one I want to talk about is at the team level, right? How do you integrate AI at the team level? From my perspective, the training is super important. If you look at any enterprises, that the adoption of AI at the individual level is not even. Some people are moving faster. The other people were like, I don't know, AI, what should I do? Because the adoption rate is so uneven, it's very important for the senior leaders to think about having AI training. So one of the training I did is actually for over 100 salespeople. Salespeople are moving so fast, right? They want stuff at their fingertips. And right here, actually not right here right now, is almost like yesterday, right? So a lot of time is I do the training, I help them understand what kind of prompts they can do. A lot of time they don't even know how to prompt correctly. And I do agree with but Ebony, you are completely right. It's the prompting is so important. Otherwise, they're not going to give you the right answer. So at the team level, how can you provide that training so people can move exactly on the same pace?
Yeah,
So
and,
that's
and, and
one thing I kind of want to add. So
yeah, no, I think that's great because when you look at the perspective of someone that is well versed in AI, such as Arts, and you also have her being a part of a team, possibly that may not be as well versed as her, right?
Yep.
So how do we share that knowledge and that balance of information certainly is tricky. And so obviously training is
Very
certainly
critical.
involved. But I also, the elephant in the room here is jobs, right? Like, and how AI could be taking people's jobs. So it's like their adoption of it is really based upon their perception of the tool and how it's going to impact their job, maybe in a negative way, right? How do we get over those hurdles as we are training our teams?
I would say we have to encourage the benefits of AI and not look at it so much as it's taking your job. But for instance, I live in Las Vegas and we have gas stations here that there are no humans anymore. You literally, you go to a machine, you pick your pump, you say what amount of money you're going to do, and then you pay, and that's it. A lot of people don't want that because that's losing a job, but we have to think about the back end. That's creating jobs for engineers and support teams and things like that to support those products. So if we push the benefits towards, hey, on the back end, instead of you working at a counter, now you could be an engineer maybe, and you can help keep these in line and support them because you know how the gas station functionality works. So you can be one of the people to help us do this. So instead of, I would say, taking away a job, we can kind of transition jobs into
Yeah.
technology more so than just eliminating them. But that would be a huge jump for America, but it's an idea.
Yeah.
So I would like to just add one point. And when Juntae, you brought a very good point. There's a lot of conversation in terms of like, our job will be lost because AI is here. But if you look at the technology evolution, actually since the Industrial Revolution, even when Henry Ford founded the Ford company with the Model T, initially hired tons of people, but then he built assembly line, so a lot of people got laid off. So where do they go? Just like Emily indicated, some of them actually open a mechanical shop because they have a certain skill set. And the same thing about the cable girls, right? So when the phone was invented, there's a lot of cable lines you have to do. They hire a lot of people doing that, and then now they automate that process. They don't need cable girls anymore, and they found a different job, became secretaries. The key thing is not eliminating jobs, everyone. The key thing is what can you do to improve and enhance your own skill set? What is that?
And
We
to
all
just
have to look at ourselves. I have to look at myself. My job may be eliminated. So what am I going to do next? What should I do? What kind of skill set do I need to enhance? Sorry. Somebody want to say something? I apologize.
I agree. I think Chanel wanted to mention something.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no,
Chanel.
no. I totally agree with what you're saying, Pam, and Ebony as well. Like just looking at that example, Ebony, that you brought of the back end and,
Yeah.
potentially having engineers, that's actually something I haven't thought of because I'm more on the
The
marketing
front
creative
end.
side, the front end,
The front
exactly.
end. Yeah.
So I actually do think that AI will help automate repetitive work, but when it comes to the creativity of it all, AI is somewhat replacing humans in that way. I mean, if we look back at the Coca-Cola AI commercial that launched in December for the holidays, that was
It was
actually
created by
lost the
AI.
human touch, and it actually received a lot of backlash because it was all machine
Yeah.
based. You're kind of now looking into other commercials that have leveraged AI from the back end in a sense of starting the strategy, starting the creative, the storyboarding of it all. Even if it's not, the output looks like the Coca-Cola commercial, the back end is you do have AI starting the creative process. So that's actually something that is replacing a lot of jobs in that sense. And then even looking at the Super Bowl that's coming up this Sunday, for example, you can actually expect to see AI integrated in a lot of that creative work that we're going to see. Again, maybe not necessarily on the front end of, seeing AI characters, but it does start with AI in a lot of ways. And because Coca-Cola received some negative backlash, a lot of brands are using AI in a quiet sense. They're not being
Yeah.
loud about it. They are still using it. And if you even look back at, I want to say Google Gemini came out with a commercial a few months back as well. And I want to say,
During Olympics. Yeah, it was during Olympics.
yes, during the Olympics. Thank you. And they actually did receive negative backlash in a sense of using a child to write a letter to an Olympian, but instead of using the child, they used AI. And that's where they lost that human connection and touch. So I do think that AI is helpful for helping automate repetitive work. And I do think that it can boost creativity and strategy, but it has to be in partnership with an actual human. It cannot
But
replace.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I still want to advocate for all the marketers and the sales professional, actually all the business professionals out there.
Hmm.
We need to, AI never stop learning. They are learning 24/7 from us. So why should we stop learning? So the skill set, what skill set do we need to possess for the next 5 or 10 years, as the evolving digital or modern marketers? That is one question I always try to address, with the marketers. What are they? But I do agree with Chanel and Ebony, your point of view. I think, yes, AI is coming, maybe in a tsunami, not in a tsunami type of way, but it is coming
No,
pretty fast.
I'm gonna go with tsunami.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with tsunami on that one.
Well,
And I
what
say
can
that
we do
because yeah, well, I say that
in
because
terms of
I
growing
think
our skill sets?
well, yeah,
Right.
yes, right. And I feel like the underlying theme is adoption, right? Like adoption from a business standpoint and adoption from a consumer standpoint. And when we think about, well, as new technologies roll out, in what way would consumers or how fast would consumers adopt the technology? And it seems like, well, consumers will adopt if it's able to help them some way somehow, right? But I think most consumers are focused on AI replacing jobs more so than AI helping their life, helping them, choose their grocery list or helping them, set up a budget for their household or whatever the case may be. They're not thinking about it in that sense. Businesses, oh yeah, we definitely are, right? So we're fully entrenched in the AI tsunami, right? And so I think that when we discover a way where we are able to, from a business standpoint, able to ensure that our employees are embracing AI in a positive way,
Hmm.
right? I think we're naturally going to be more productive because once that happens, I think employees will go from thinking AI is a threat on their job to thinking AI is a new tool that would help them in their job. Because think about it, like back in the day when the typewriter came out, you see all those like war movies and they're just a typewriter room and everyone's in a typewriter, right? And I can remember even back in the day applying for jobs, they asked you, well, how many words can you type per minute? But that was an actual thing. And you probably had to take a test, right? To do so. I think AI is going to start having employers test for AI capabilities in terms of prompt engineering. Say, hey, I need to do X, Y, and Z. So what prompt would you create in order to execute upon that task? Ebony, I know you see you're shaking your head. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, to piggyback off that, I came up with an idea a couple months ago to create a bot to train you how to use AI. So I'm still developing, building that out now, but the goal is to have businesses adopt my chatbot and literally teach, like how Pam said, the ones that are not moving so
Moving
fast,
fast.
how to
Mhm.
jump on the bandwagon and learn it, know how to use your software, or I should say, the AI that you need for your company correctly, how to correctly engineer the prompts, how to correctly execute everything that you need, but in a step by step way. So it's not like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I have a million YouTubes to watch, or I have a 17 module lesson to learn. It's interactive. You'll have pictures, you'll have videos, you'll have documentation, so that no matter what your learning style is, you can tap into that chatbot and say, okay, I can learn how to do this. And I don't have to go to school for 8 years. I can still keep my job and I can learn how to do this and move forward.
Yeah.
You know what? Can I say something?
Mhm.
Ebony girl, you are just creating a chatbot to replace me. No,
No.
listen, don't worry about it. It's totally okay. And I'm doing AI training actually for a lot of sales and marketing people. And most of the time when I do it is a virtual events or in-person events, right? And I think your idea is fabulous. I love it.
Thank you.
And I'm not threat by it. Is it threatened or threat?
Good.
The reason is I see what you created can complement me. There are certain things the chatbot will do very well. Individual training, and do that at the individual's pace is fantastic. Sometimes there's a group training that needs to happen, right? So we just need to I need to understand what my clients' needs are, right? If it's just a very small scope and the people can learn in their own pace, great. Ebony's product is fabulous. But if they want to like, hey, you know what? Here's the 10 ways that you can write the AI prompts for all the sales-centric type of engagement. Well, maybe I will come into play.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of see. So immediately I was like, oh my God, my job will be replaced. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's not going to
Right.
be replaced. It depends. So
Yeah.
I think what you said is a great example. And in terms of like how it can complement the training I offer.
Yeah, and so here's what I think. I think for on both ends, both on the AI doing the training and someone like you, Pam, doing the training. I think there's a way to possibly fuse the two because
Yeah,
for
it
one,
is.
for
It's
one,
complement.
people there's going to be a segment of the market that want to engage with humans, human interaction, and I do believe I predict this is going to take place. There is going to be a purist movement where you're going to have a bunch of people, a segment of people that really want to focus on doing business with people, right? They know, like, and trust versus doing business with AI. There's going to be a purist movement, but the way in which I think we can fuse, Ebony's tool with your consulting, Pam, would be possibly to have a knowledge base established based upon your unique experience, right? Like your
Or
personality, your unique experience, so on. I think are ways in which the AI could draw from, and you can go from a one-on-one to one of many with that AI. Just a
so
thought.
yeah,
Yeah,
that can
because
be
at the end
one
of the day,
option. Just
Okay,
one
good.
second. So that can be one option, and the other option I was thinking about is more or less kind of create series, right? So the AI bot can come in and then do the initial training, and but while they're doing training, like when we're learning any new tools, we always have a question. Even when we are learning kind of like ChatGPT, it's like, okay, there's other way of doing it. What is that? There are other features we need to pay attention to. What is that? So we can actually, the way I think about it, girls, well, Juntae, you are one of the girls. So it's like Ebony can actually, the chatbot can come in as the individual training, maybe for 30 minutes and 40 minutes. And then they have any additional question or they do the prompts and it's not right. How can they improve it? Then they can bring the Q&A or the interactive conversation as the follow-up training. Is that helpful? So that's another way to look at it, to create kind of like a series of a training. But one is with the bot, the other one was in person.
Yeah.
Just a
So,
thought.
yeah, no, I think that's definitely doable. So we talked about AI adoption. We talked about some specific tools. I wanna pivot and talk about the ethics of AI. And I think the ethics of AI mostly lean toward larger organizations and how they're using AI, how they're using our data for AI, so on and so forth. I know, Chanel, you probably could speak to some of this with the larger brands that you've worked with in AI, but give me your opinion on some of the ethical considerations when larger organizations are implementing AI.
Yeah, ethical standards and compliance just in general for any marketing campaign always has to be submitted through legal. But when it comes to AI, there's an extra layer of having to review. There are a lot of um, I don't want to say copyright infringements, but if you're, for example, using AI or Chat GPT for copy, the positioning, the messaging can be lost in translation there. I can't remember who said it earlier, but the more you use AI, the smarter it becomes. So there is some data that now lives with this chatbot or this Chat GPT. And some of that information is proprietary data, and user data definitely is something that a lot of companies, they kind of go through a training in a sense of how to use ChatGPT in a smart way where we're not risking information on the company. But when it comes to a sense of a full training on AI, that is a part that's missed. So you do have a lot of people who don't necessarily understand the ethical pieces of AI and what you can use towards their global marketing campaign and what you can't. But I would definitely say when it comes to a marketing campaign, it has to go through layers of approval from a legal perspective, just because of the information we're putting in there or the information that we're taking from it could really impact a campaign from launching or getting into some trouble or being sued in some ways. There are a lot of risks when it comes to incorporating AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when working with a larger client, I've noticed that before engaging with that client, there was a lot of paperwork and they absolutely did not want us to use AI. That got me thinking, like, I would say maybe last year, the year before, AI was a buzzword and everyone wanted to sort of position themselves as, either an AI expert, AI company, so on and so forth. And I was considering doing that for our agency as well. And I realized, like, wait a minute, before I go all in, there could be a backlash where if you are positioned as an AI expert for larger companies, they may actually stray away from you because they don't want their proprietary data be input into any AI systems that you're using. So I was like, let me just kind of hold off on that. But I think now I believe OpenAI mentions that the models won't be used to information that you put into the model won't be used to train it. But can we really trust that, right? Like how are we actually going to train the model if there's no data there, right?
Exactly.
So
And so when you do use ChatGPT, for example, or any AI tool, I guess parameters are to not include a company name. You can include some of the data because even though it says that it's not keeping this information, it actually is, because the more we use it, the smarter it becomes. So we now have to extract the brand names. If you want to replace that with an industry, for example, we can do that. But any detailed information about a company, about data, about percentage increases, quarter over quarter, or anything to that sort, that is information we have to must omit. And to your point too, for one of my previous companies, I actually worked on an AI campaign that was pretty much entitled The Future of Work. So you can absolutely understand the timeline for that to launch, the folks that had to get involved, the stakeholders that had to get involved just for that to go out into the world was pretty substantial. And it's not necessarily the company providing a real resource or tool that folks can use. It's a lot of companies that don't fully understand AI that want folks to look at them as the expert or go to them or use them. But in reality, there's a lot of companies and brands that don't fully understand or provide an actual tool that people can use. A lot of times it's regurgitating stuff that's already out there.
Yeah.
Using OpenAI, using ChatGPT, using DeepSeek and all of that other stuff. It's not providing an actual tool to use.
Yeah. Pam, you want to say something?
Yeah, very quickly, and agree with the both of you. And I recently spoke at a company, and I did an AI training for their marketing team. So the bottom line is the ethical and also the legal compliance is also evolving over a period of time. And the initial reaction, even a year or even 2 years ago, you are totally right. And a lot of the legal team basically say, don't do it. And but I also have seen several companies that they basically said you can use AI, but I tell you which AI tools to use. And one of them tend to be Copilot. Like one of the companies I spoke to, they basically said it's a big manufacturing company and worldwide, right? And they basically said we can only use Copilot and nothing else. So it was kind of interesting. The training was actually just focused on how can we get the most out of Copilot. But my experience is working on the Copilot prompts versus the ChatGPT prompt, especially on some of the content marketing prompts or even sales questions that the salespeople would like to ask. Maybe my prompting skill is not that great. Who knows? I tend to see ChatGPT has better results compared with the Copilot. But at the same time, within the company, like kind of scope themselves or put a guardrail around it that the only one that this company can use is Copilot. They are really exploring how to get the most out of it. So I hear you loud and clear, but at the same time, I also see that the legal and the compliance things continue to change, and a lot of tools needs to be approved first because I work with the client. I'm always on the client side, so I work with the clients more than say with agencies, and I always notice that, especially on the enterprise clients, the tools needs to be approved, if you will. And you are totally right. Chanel, if it's not approved, then you have to be very generic. You can't, when you enter the information on ChatGPT, you got to be industry specific, or you mention like, oh, this company has a revenue of $5 billion, specialized in certain kind of products. So you make it generic. But what's the point of a generic? Because when you have a very generic AI prompts, you get generic responses.
Garbage in, garbage out, right?
That's one thing that everybody needs to pay attention to is, if you write the prompt, the more specific your prompt is, the more that AI can give you to tailor for your needs. And when you are write generic, I always tell people, I don't know, you might get something, but you need to have a point of view to make a judgment call. Is that response like what you are looking for? Is that response going to help you?
Yeah. And so we talked earlier about how these AI models need data in order to learn, right? And the source of that data, I think, is critically important. When we think about the ethics within that of sourcing that information, one thing that comes to mind is DEI. And I know that that word we probably have to bleep out on social media for our clicks.
So sad, so
but
sad.
but it's true. We may literally have to delete that out or bleep that out. But when we think about it here, and I see a lot of beautiful faces here, diverse faces on the panel, what is your opinion, right? And if you're representing your brand, obviously your voice and your opinion is your own, right? But what is your opinion with regard to the diversity of the sources that are used in order to train the data models for AI?
Well, I can say so. In 2020, I started selling NFTs, and that's when I initially got into generative AI. And in 2020, no matter what you typed in, everything was going to come out the same. You could say a man 6 feet tall, it's going to still be a woman with a certain type of hair, certain type of features, and it may have like a male outfit on. So it's evolved even from 2020 to now that you can type in things and it does give you a wider range, but we have so much work to do with
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
So much work.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Probably I'll just add that I've noticed the growth, but it's interesting, Ebony, that in the past year or even less, the growth has been so quickly that I've seen a lot of improvements. Like I like to use the same prompt each month to see what it will generate, just to see if it changes, and it changes a lot.
That's good. We are
That's
making
amazing.
progress.
We
So
are.
that's great.
Yes. And I'd recommend that. I mean, I think that should be a standing practice for anyone, right? Like to your point, Ars, have a prompt and just make sure you submit that prompt every month to see the change. I think that's great. I think that's great.
Yeah, just jumping in there too, the just seeing it evolve. So at least within my own experience, it's definitely been more of asking questions, getting a response, a prompt response. But the growth even now is producing mock-ups, visual images, having it put out certain PMS colors, hex colors, it getting very specific in leveraging brand identity in a mock-up. It's also kind of evolved in a sense of if I wanted to do something, because I think Ebony said you have to be very specific to get what you want, but if I wanted to produce something and let's say I wanted to provide a marketing plan and put it together, chronologically by this date and time, and then spit it out in kind of like a grid form or whatever format or layout I want it to be in, that is something that has blown my mind from just, asking a question, getting an answer to now receiving mock-ups and now actually receiving it in a different layout. So I think that's actually very helpful. It's a little scary because it's so spot on sometimes, but it is helpful.
Yeah. AI promised to essentially optimize performance and better your insights and so on for businesses and individuals. But how do you really measure its impact? So I want to break down the metrics that matter most when gauging whether AI actually is delivering results. So what metrics do you track to determine if AI campaign, is actually successful?
I can speak to that just really quickly. I think a lot of times folks get a little nervous just hearing about AI and artificial intelligence, but it's something that has been around for a very, very long time. So the way that at least I track a lot of the campaigns that I work on is, the performance metrics, the engagement, the interaction. As I mentioned, like the net sentiment, that is also an AI tool that tracks net sentiments. Personalization is a big thing. So I would definitely say the customer experience, the churn rate. If people go to a website, is there a bounce back? What's the bounce rate? What's the time spent on the site? Different click-through rates, conversion rates, net promoter scores, revenue growth. All of those things can be and should be tracked within a traditional marketing campaign and then some. But a lot of this stuff has been tracked for a very long time. I think, again, just AI being very commercialized in the way that it has been kind of makes, I think, a lot of folks who are unfamiliar with AI a little nervous. But a lot of the tools that you use to track performance metrics for a marketing campaign in general is the same that you would use for AI.
And to
And
piggyback off Chanel, usually people think when you incorporate AI, it's going to be something totally different. And I'm like, it's literally the same KPIs. And even better, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say a company, but like SEMrush, they have AI incorporated. So if you're using that for your data analysis, you can just use their AI. You don't even have to step outside of that software. So it makes the companies feel a little more comfortable because we're using the same thing. They just have the technology that you need to make it more enhanced and more precise. But yeah, great point, Chanel.
Yeah. So because I work with the B2B clients, and a lot of time they are looking into a little bit more specific and metrics. So we usually look into, for example, the efficiency and also effectiveness. And then effectiveness, we kind of time with see if we can actually quantify some sort of revenue impact. And the way that we are looking from efficiencies perspective is one of the marketing team actually tracking manually, just tracking manually. For example, if they use ChatGPT or even Copilot to for the AI prompts, write a marketing plan for me, or writing this blog post for me. So in the past, it usually take about 3 to 4 hours to write a blog from beginning to finish. If they initiate the outline or even the first draft with the AI, so the time has been accelerated. Maybe it's only like 1.5 hours or 2 hours. So they will count it like average time saved is might be 2 hours, right? So once you actually have that number, and they are doing 50 blog posts here, then you can take that 2 hours times 50, and that's 100 hours. So you can actually solidify, like of course this is estimated, but with some sort of baseline in mind. So now you have a number that you can share with your management in terms of, we are using this tool, it's 100 hours of savings. Is that helpful? So it's very quantifiable, and it's something to back it up. That's number one. The other thing that we do is we will look at the workflow. Remember earlier, I'm talking about look at the workflow. Let's assume we do a webinar. If you do a webinar, you have a workflow that you go through. So in that workflow, what are some of the features? Just like you said, there's existing AI tools. They are existing platform you use, but there's AI features that be incorporated into that specific tool. So if we are using that, so you start using that, you got to have a baseline to start with. We always started with a baseline. But when you are using certain AI tools within your workflow, what is the outcome? Of course, you cannot 100% project that it's AI contributed, but you can somehow have some sort of outcome that you have a baseline, you have an outcome, say, this is, we actually use some of the AI tools, we use AI writing tools, we use some other platforms. So you can have some sort of KPIs that you can do some sort of comparison and drive that conversation with the management. So that's another thing that I encourage my clients to do. One is manually tracking the hours saved at the individual level. That's manual. And then the other one is look at the workflow.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to add on the efficiency part, because even you were talking more about B2B companies, but I've noticed that I've recently had a chance to have a call with a company that focuses more on a customer facing company. But what they did actually, that they automated their content repurposing. And because of that, they were able not just to have their content on all social media, they were able to kind of resurrect their Facebook page. And out of Facebook page, they had like millions of views and then sales. So here they should have tracked sales, but then you have all the audience that you build that then can also turn into sales later on. So I think it's efficiency plus the results that you get, and the results are not just quantitative, but also the feedback that you get from the customers. For example, you use AI in your emails. Do you get replies from customers?
Customers, yep, that's true.
Do they like the content that AI has provided you or not? So it's not just like the numbers, but also the feedback that you get from customers.
So, Aras, I just want to add one more thing on top of it. So one of my clients did this. That was very funny. Well, it's not funny. Actually, we did an A/B testing. We create 2 newsletters for that specific month. One is written by their copy editor. It's completely human written. The other one is written by AI. And that one, the copy editor really want to put their hand to it and basically say, I need to edit that. That just doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. But I was like, nope, we're not doing that. So we did an A/B testing. We sent these 2 newsletters out, and we're just going to say, okay, fine. Somebody is going to just look at that newsletter and not respond or whatever. We did a 50% split on the subscription, and we sent it out. And interesting enough, for the first round, AI versus human, we are able to prove humans' writing is actually better in terms of opening rate. But that doesn't, once we do several rounds, maybe AIs will do much better than us. But that first round, we actually have a baseline. So just want to add on top of it, Aras. Sorry.
For sure. And Chanel, let's talk about the future of AI. So where do you see AI evolving in the next few years?
Yeah, definitely. I think that AI is definitely going to stick around. Obviously, it's going to get smarter and smarter. I do think that AI is going to be a key component within a lot of different organizations in simplifying tasks. I think it will help simplify tasks. I think it will help automate some type of process for repetitive tasks. I also think, and I want to say Pam mentioned it earlier about training. A lot of companies don't fully offer AI training. It's kind of like AI came about 2 years ago. Everyone is using it. Everyone needs to kind of learn how to use it on their own. But again, it's not like a consensus training in the sense of, DEI training or unbiased training that a lot of companies offer. AI absolutely needs to be part of onboarding. 100%.
I 100% agree with that. Amen to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think it's going to, be here for the long term. I do think it's going to help make a lot of tasks simplified. I do not think it's going to replace humans. I do think it needs to be paired with humans because, to your point, you can ask it a question, Pam, for your A/B testing, and the human version, gets a lot more open rates because there's that connection. I've tested that as well. And what, ChatGPT spits back out is just so plain, very generic.
Repetitive. Yeah. Using exactly the same word. I call it the flowery words.
Yes, exactly.
Unleash.
Exactly. It's the marketing terms, it's the buzzwords, and it definitely removes the human sense of it. So yeah, I do think that AI is here to stay. I do think it needs to be implemented into the onboarding process. I do think that it will help make tasks more simplified. And when it comes to the actual tools, I know that there's a lot of controversy around DeepSeek, but I'm particularly very interested in that. I know privacy concerns, data concerns, that's very valid from an ethical standpoint. But because it is low cost, it's a lower cost business model when it comes to the US tech companies in comparison to China. I'm very curious to see how they're thriving, the systems that they're using, the space that they have that we may not have in the US. I am curious to kind of dive into more of those tools in the future and see how that can represent a marketing campaign at its best.
Yeah. And Ebony, what emerging AI trends excite you most?
I would say, well, of course, the chatbots, because I'm actually developing them. So I'm super excited about that.
They are going to be your BFFs.
I know they're already my BFF. I miss dinner sometime because of these chats.
I'm
So
talking
yeah.
to my BFF. Okay.
But that and Gen AI, and to Pam and Chanel's point, as a copywriter, everyone asks me like, "What AI do you use for copywriting?" And I'm like, I don't. Like, I feel like I'm cheating, and not only that, but it's like Pam said, it spits out something, and I'm like, I
What?
hate it. I don't want to do this. Like, let me write it. I'll write it. I'll write it. So
Me
it's
too.
like,
I'm the same way.
yeah, like it always needs the human touch. But of course, we know in marketing, content is king. So Gen AI is going to forever be like, I think, an ongoing trend as it evolves.
Yep.
Yeah. And all right, what AI opportunities should startups be preparing for?
I think they need to be prepared to use more AI. What's very interesting because startups, they seem like a tech companies. They should use tools more easily, be more tech savvy, but I think they kind of get sometimes stuck whether they should try this marketing channel or that marketing channel or choose. Is helping to diversify quickly and find what's working for you, but at the same time be ready to have your own voice and your own value proposition written, the copy and everything, just to make sure you don't use that human touch, because that's what sells. Because it does not matter whether you are a tech company, you are selling to a consumer, or you are selling to a business, you are a human selling to human, you need to talk to the human. That's what the startups can miss when they are using AI. So to just summarize, they should be more open to use more channels for marketing using AI, and they still need to keep the human part.
Yep.
And Pam, what steps should B2B companies take now to stay ahead with AI?
I am thinking actually from a slightly different perspective. So, girls, way back in 1994 when Google was founded, okay, Google founded obviously changed how we behave and totally, right? We don't use yellow pages anymore. We don't use white pages anymore. We're like, search, very easy. And then what did all the company do? They SEO the heck out of their website. They create a website first, and the first time they always look bad. And then somehow it's like, oh my God, keyword. We have to make sure we have keywords. We have to optimize it. So then every single B2B enterprises spend tons of money on SEO and optimize their website. Okay. We optimize for search. But now, if you think about it, the younger generation, especially the high school students, you will not believe it. I don't know, you guys have any kids? You guys look so young. And then nowadays, like the high schoolers, they will ask like ChatGPT, what should I do today? I'm not kidding. I was like, you know what? You have total control. You can do whatever you want. And they will ask like, I'm depressed. What kind of medicine should I take? A lot of search functionality that was served by Google Bing now without behavioral change, because the ChatGPT can answer, or any chatbot can answer any questions. So the younger generation are moving their search into chatbot. So, and the search, when you answer a question, they give you one answer only. So if I were enterprise and I'm typing, okay, I am depressed, what kind of medicine should I use? I actually want my medicine to serve up on chatbot. So what is that future of a search looks like? Honestly, that's what a lot of enterprise marketing are thinking about. How can before I optimize my website, I have a destination. I have something I have a total control. I can optimize it, and I can also buy keyword search, sponsor keywords when you do a Google search. But now people are searching on chatbot, on any bot out there, Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, and Copilot, ChatGPT. How can I make sure my product and my services show up? That is something that I think every single company, including us as independent consultants, that we need to think about.
Absolutely. And now it's time for our segment, Bad bold, or brilliant. And we're going to talk about 3 examinations of how AI campaigns are used in the marketplace. And the first up is Coca-Cola's AI generated Real Magic campaign. And this is where Coca-Cola launched an AI powered platform allowing consumers to generate unique branded art using OpenAI's DALL-E and GPT-4. Ladies, what do you think? Is this a bad, bold, or brilliant idea?
Bad. I think it's a bad idea. That was one of the examples that I mentioned earlier of just removing the human touch. I think they did a good job in a sense of staying true to the Coca-Cola look and feel of the trucks and, the fantasy and the magic that Coca-Cola can provide with the polar bears and things of that nature. But I think the output was missing that human connection for sure.
True.
I definitely agree. I'll say bad as well. The human connection is the same thing that makes me cringe with copywriting. Like, we need that at all times.
Bold
sure.
become bad. They are trying very bold and doing that. I'm like, I don't know. But you know what? I hate saying this. Bad PR is also good PR. I don't know. They got a lot of talk out of it. So
Yeah, no, I agree. The next we have is Sephora's AI-powered personalization with virtual try-ons. And so essentially, Sephora utilizes AI and AR to provide personalized product recommendations and virtual makeup try-ons through its app. Do you think this is a bad, bold, or brilliant idea?
As a Sephora fan that actually uses it, I would say bold, but with everything with AI now, it's still evolving. So I'm still looking for it to do better and be enhanced in the days to come.
Yeah, I just want
I
to
agree.
say the same thing that it's good, but I agree with you. It's bold, but it's not working the way I would expect it to work. So if it works better, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's another campaign that'll bring people to the Sephora brand to try it out. And I think it is, I would say, even though obviously I don't wear makeup, but I think it skews more on the side of brilliant because their competition isn't doing it. So I think it's one extra level of engagement. Unique, yeah, is one extra level of engagement that their competition didn't have. So
I was actually going to say brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I do think it's bold, but I think it's brilliant because the personalization is there. And I think that that's a really important customer experience.
yep, and data collection as well, right? I think
So true.
based
So true.
upon how the consumers are interacting with the brand, there's certain data that's collected that ultimately to help personalize that experience and upsell the customer as well. Yeah. All right. So the next one and the last one is the Netflix AI driven content recommendation in marketing. This is obviously where Netflix leverages AI to analyze user preferences and they generate hyper personalized content recommendations and dynamic advertising. Now, I had a very unique experience with that in terms of I was scrolling through my Netflix and there was one movie, I forgot the name of it, but I really didn't remember any like black people in the movie. But in the key art, there was like the only black character. And I'm wondering like, wow, that's out of all the people that they picked that guy to be a part. So it was really weird. And that's where I learned that they're targeting me based upon my past viewing history and so on and so forth. So I would certainly say from my perspective that it's bold until it's not. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, Netflix is such a technology-driven company, and they use constantly optimize everything to increase that viewership. They change the genre categories. They change the keyword they tags. They continuously optimize every possible way and doing testing. They amaze me in terms of what they do. And I don't think they will ever stop. That Netflix is one, and the other one is Amazon. They are using data in a very creative way, but just like Chanel, you indicated earlier, they are all very discreet about it. They don't talk about it, and how they use AIs, they never share, and you never know. But definitely working pretty hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's bold. Now, one thing that's very interesting is this is stuff that they've been doing.
For a long
Same
time. Yeah, never
Same with
stop.
Hulu, same with Stars, just streaming in general. You use, first party data to determine content recommendations, like content. If you just watched a movie, here's a few others that you might want to watch right after because it's in the same genre. It's thrill, it's horror, whatever the case may be. So a lot of streaming companies have already been using this information to make recommendations or suggestions for new content or like content. I think Netflix might just, be hopping on the AI bandwagon and hey, this is something that we do. This is proprietary, but let's go ahead and package it as, this really unique AI tool that we have that we can kind of like put out there. But I do believe this is something that they've been doing for a very long period of time. What's new to me is if they're changing cover art to reflect
That's true. I noticed that too. They changed the, I call it thumbnail, because
exactly.
probably YouTube terminology, but they changed that. To me, that's also another way of optimization. They are testing. They are
Yeah.
really testing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely testing cover art. So, Juntae, if you're saying you've seen this, person on the cover art that did not have a lead role in the show that you're watching or the film that you're watching, you could be targeted in a sense of testing, on Netflix in that sense. But that is something that is new and unique. But when it comes to using first party data to make recommendations to subscribers, that's something that they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick round robin. What is one AI tool or digital tool that you cannot live without?
ChatGPT for me.
Yeah, I agree. ChatGPT, it's the most used one for sure.
Yeah. So I'm using ChatGPT plus on the editing part of it. I use Opus and to do kind of the long form video, and I use that to actually do YouTube shorts and also TikTok video, and that was kind of interesting, but still required tons of human touch. Yeah.
And for me, I'll say ChatGPT and Apollo. I'm really big on lead generation right now for everyone, and Apollo has literally everything that I
Everything.
need.
Yeah. Apollo.io. That's what you're talking about, right? Yeah. Yeah, I have that as well.
Awesome. All right. So now it's time for our shameless plugs. Okay. You guys have generated some great insight, and I'm sure the listeners and viewers are going to take hold of that. But let them know where they're able to find you, how they can contact you, and how can they be involved with whatever you have to offer.
Okay, I'll go first. So on all platforms, the Yanobe brand, TheYnobeBrand. And again, I am developing chatbots to help train companies on AI, as well as we have the e-commerce chatbot, I have the lead generation chatbot, and also the tech support chatbot. So you'll have an option to choose for what you need for your business needs. And you can find all of that on my website, www.theyanobebrandmarketing.com.
And spell Unobe for us.
Ynobe.
Got it. Thanks. Who wants to go next?
Chanel, do you want to?
Sure. The Omnipresent Marketing Agency, www.omnipresentagency.com. We are a full 360 integrated marketing agency, very boutique, to be intentional, very resourceful. But what we do is we pretty much launch marketing campaigns that help promote a product, content, understanding brand identity. We work on brand strategy. We do marketing launches, lots of good stuff there. But yeah, you can find us at omnipresentagency.com. And we are very much open to collaborate with any brand that is looking to promote themselves or create awareness around their own brand. So Omnipresent Marketing Agency. The context is in the name, amplifying you everywhere at one time on multiple channels.
Awesome. Alex, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm a separate consultant, a startup marketing consultant. I work from pre-seed to Series A startups. My main channel where you can find me is probably LinkedIn because I'm very active there. So it's my name, RX Nalbandian. I work with startups as they start just going to the market with go-to-market strategies, with product messaging, with growth channels, and I also help with startups who already have some channels, some team but they need some help from outside to just accelerate that growth. I help them there as well. So I'm most involved as an advisor, but also help sometimes hands-on to implement some strategies where I have most experience in.
Very nice.
And what about you,
Okay.
Pam?
All right, everyone. I literally wrote two books, and they are very, very easy to read. It's called The Modern AI Marketer, and this one is in GPT era. This one is like 75 plus prompts, and that you can use. This is only 50 pages. This is only 100 pages. Really, I get to the point, and you can read. You can read them watching Netflix. Netflix, I promise you, is the easy read. So check it out on Amazon, and you can also find me. My name is here, Pam Dittner. Find me on pamdittner.com, and you can Google me. I'm on every single channel, and I want to challenge you, everyone, if you're listening. Go to ChatGPT, go to Claude, go to Perplexity, and type top B2B marketer. I want you to see if my name comes up. If it doesn't, let me know. If it does, let me know. All right,
Love
that's
that.
it.
I love that. All right. And I'm your host, Juntae DeLane, founder at Digital DeLane, a full service digital marketing firm. We help bring new brands, campaigns, and ideas to life. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Brand Behavior. We hope you've gained valuable insights from our show. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and visit our website, digitaldelane.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and share it with your network. Bye for now.
Bye bye.